After the Prophet ﷺ was buried and the word got out that he had died, these affiliated tribes who had joined the Muslim world, the vast majority of them left the leadership and rebelled against Abu Bakr's leadership. Those who like to detract from Islam, they will say that these people, these tribes, immediately left Islam as soon as the Prophet died. That could not be further from the truth. I am not aware of any tribe that went back to idol worship after the Prophet ﷺ died. None of them. You only had a few out of hundreds of tribes. Only 3 followed false prophets. And even among those false prophets, they still held to the basic tenets of Islam. They just declared that these other people were prophets after Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, which of course takes them out of Islam, but it's not like they went back to worshiping rocks and stones and stuff. The vast majority of them rebelled because the Arabs were not used to being under a central authority. They were not used to that at all. That had hardly ever been done. I can't think of any time in the history, going back to Ismail alayhi salam, Prophet Ismail that is, where all the Arab tribes were under one authority. I can't even think of that. You have some in the north who were under the authority of the Romans or the Persians. You had some in the south who were under the authority of the Abyssinians. But in the central portion, the real desert portion of Arabia, for the most part, they had never in their history been under one single authority. And this was new to them. They also didn't like the fact that they had to pay their zakat to Abu Bakr, to Medina. They were not against paying zakat in general, but they felt that they're going to give zakat, they're going to pay it on their own tribes and help their own people out and give it to their own leaders. They didn't like the idea of sending their zakat to Medina. To them, when they gave their zakat they sent their zakat to Medina during the Prophet's life, that was tribute. That was part of the deal of them being a conquered tribe. They had to pay tribute. That's how they thought it was. They didn't think of it as a religious duty that you send to the central authority and then they deal with it and spread it out among those Muslims who deserve it. They felt that we're not going to give up one of the primary symbols of our independence, our wealth, to some tribe hundreds, even thousands of miles away. With that, many of them rebelled or simply left the allegiance of Islam. But for the most part, none of the tribes went back to idol worship. Don't ever believe that. They just didn't want to pay zakat. They just wanted to be independent. But that's not what Abu Bakr had in mind.